Hello, I'm Jackie Rides, your community leader and program director for Women of the Channel. Thank you so much for joining today's workshop, Shape the Story, Shift the Outcome, with Emmy Award winning journalist turned entrepreneur, Jillian Mele. Jillian will also be our morning keynote speaker on day 2 of Women of the Channel East, if you're joining us. So I would like to also thank our sponsor, Fortinet, for bringing this opportunity to us today. As always, I'm super excited to be here with you. We would love to see your smiling faces. It just helps us with connections. So if you're up for that, definitely turn on your camera. If you're not in for that today, no judgment. But there will be a judgment if you don't allow this time to be a no distraction zone for yourself. So put away the phone, emails, all of that's going to be ready for you in a little while. But this workshop is live and we don't want you to miss anything. If you have any questions along the way, you can put them in the chat, and Alana and I will help Jillian with those as she stops and points for some questions. Um, as always, we have a short survey at the end, and it's super, super short. I think it's 4 questions, just to kind of get your feedback on today. And if you fill it out, you'll be entered in to win a gifted gift card, and Alana will announce the winner in the community later today. So without further ado, please welcome Emmy Award winning journalist turned fearless entrepreneur, Jillian Mele. After nearly 2 decades reporting on everything from presidential elections and the war in Ukraine to the World Series and the pandemic, Jillian made one of her boldest moves of her career. She walked away from national television to bet on herself. And she's here to remind us that bravery isn't about having no fear, it's about taking the leap anyway. Thank you, Jillian.
Thank you.
For
I'm so
yours.
excited to be here today. Thank you, Jackie. Thank you, Alana. And thank you, everyone who's here. Thank you, Nicole, for the hand clap in the chat there. I appreciate that. So, the icebreaker question: when was the last time you did something uncomfortable and what was it? That really means a lot to me. And it didn't as of a few years ago, but as you'll learn about me as I tell you a bit about my story, this is something that has completely changed my life. The ability to look at fear or to look at hesitation or to look at discomfort, anything that sort of makes us pause in our tracks to say, like, hold on a second, am I really going to proceed here? I've grown to love all of those opportunities. So that's what we're going to get into today when I talk about shaping the story and shifting your outcome. Your story and the way you shape it is vital to your success, to your mentality, to where you're going to go in life. And it's not something that I fully realized until a few years ago. So, with that said, just going to show you guys here the first slide, which is my background. So, as you heard Jackie say, I am a former broadcast journalist. Right now, I am a two-time business owner. And when I left the news about 3 years ago, I kind of left with the whole mentality of, I'm just going to do this. I'm going to do this and I'm going to see what happens. And most people will say, well, make sure you have your ducks in a row. I always joke, I'm like, I didn't have a duck in sight. Like I didn't do this the way that you're typically supposed to do this. And by the way, I for some reason can't see you guys right now, so I apologize for that. But I didn't have a duck in sight. I basically was like, I made the decision after years of being uncomfortable to pivot. This is why it says I embrace the opportunity to pivot and write my own story to shift my outcome. I had years of feeling this thing inside where I'd wake myself up in the middle of the night some nights, unable to breathe. I'd wake myself up in that sort of anxiety panic attack. I'm sure many of you know what that's like at various stages of your life. And it was something that really affected me. And I had years of this. I had years of thinking, why am I feeling this way? On the surface and on paper, I have one of the greatest jobs in the world. I feel so fortunate to be able to be on national television, to be able to wake people up every single morning and deliver the news. all of the things that really matter in the world, I had the ability to do that. I was telling those stories. And so I sat with this feeling for a very long time like, why do I feel so uncomfortable? Why do I not feel confident in my own skin and in what I'm doing? Why do I have this hesitation? And what do I do about it? And I sat with it and I sat with it and I sat with it for years. And then the pandemic happened, the COVID-19 pandemic. And I was working in Manhattan and I was going into the studio every day. And it was that opportunity that I think maybe many of you can relate to, where you just sort of rethink your life. You rethink what you're doing, you rethink your priorities, you rethink everything. And that was what was happening to me. So it was 2020. I decided that I was going to go back to school and get my MBA. I thought, at the very minimum, if I transition to, say, business news instead of hard news, it would benefit me. And at the most, if I decided to actually leave this career, it can't hurt me to have an MBA. So I thought there's no way this decision can hurt me. So that's what I did. So I went back to school to get my MBA, one class at a time for 3 straight years, just so I could better myself. And truthfully, it was the hardest and the best thing I ever did. But I was still working in news. So when I decided to leave the news fully, it was in 2022, spring of 2022. And I walked outside the newsroom, a bright, sunny, chilly March day, the Wednesday before St. Patrick's Day. And I looked up at the sky and I was like, oh my gosh, I did it. And then 3 seconds later, I was like, oh my gosh, what now? So that's when I say I didn't have a duck in a row. I just did it. I embraced the opportunity to take that leap of faith. You always hear those quotes. It's like, if you don't start now, you're never going to start, or just start and figure it out later. That's what I did. I am a walking example of that. So about 3 weeks later, I launched Jillian Mele Communications, and I essentially coach what I used to do. I help people with public speaking, presentation training. I put on different workshops like this. I will go in person and host workshops at various companies and corporations, and I love what I do. But I also knew that wasn't it for me. I got that bug of now I can do and be whatever I want to be. And so about a year ago, I launched my second business, which is called Lemon Rose Golf. And I am getting ready to launch my first collection of women's golf apparel at the PGA show in January. This is something that my business partner and I have been working on for over a year. And I am super excited about that. It's the happiest I've been in my life. It's the most broke I've ever been in my life, which is weird that those two things can be in the same sentence. But I'm okay with that. I love the struggles. I love the challenges because they're all leading me to somewhere bigger and better. And so when I say to write your story in order to shift your outcome, that's what that means. To be able to grab onto what you're doing every single moment of every single day. And I know sometimes when we're sort of in it in that moment, like, oh, I got to respond to my emails. Oh, I have to get on the Zoom. Oh, I have to make this phone call. It can feel a little bit, I don't know, mundane, if you will. And sometimes it can feel a little bit repetitive, like you're doing the same thing every single day. But that's where you have to stop yourself and realize that you are the author of your own story each and every single day. So, with that said, I'm going to continue this and go into part one. And there are going to be some exercises that I would love for you guys to participate in along the way. Your first one is going to come up here in just a moment. So, make sure you have a pen and paper ready if you can. Part one is every story has a narrator. And if you're guessing that's you, you would be correct. So, my question is, are you aware of and taking ownership of your story? We tell ourselves these little stories every single day. And I, just like many of you, am guilty of it. I'm not a leader. I'm stuck. I'm not ready. I don't deserve that role. And this is where I think imposter syndrome comes into play. We tell ourselves these stories that simply factually aren't correct. Yet we all do this to ourselves and we start believing them. We tell ourselves these stories about us that we then start believing. They affect our mindset about who we are and about the job we do and the things we do every single day. I am definitely guilty of that. So, the first step in shifting your outcome is realizing that you're not just a character in your story, you're the author in your story. So, what does that mean and what can you do about it? The first exercise here is to write one sentence that you catch yourself saying often. Something like, I'm terrible at public speaking. What is something that you catch yourself saying? If you guys can take, I don't know, 30 to 60 seconds to write one down, then we'll go from there. And by the way, if you're seeing my computer, give thumbs up. I don't know why this does this sometimes. It's weird. Gives me thumbs up. So I'll give you guys a few seconds to write that down.
We see your screen.
You do? Isn't it
Yeah.
weird? No, no, it's
Yeah, I know.
I don't know how to
We
turn
have
it.
a Mac. We have a Mac. It's like the Mac
Yeah,
thing.
if anyone knows how to turn that off, then let me know. And I'm gonna ask a few of you to share if you don't mind. I won't force anyone, but if you're comfortable sharing. And I'll give you my one of my examples that I sat with for a long time. Even when I worked on the news, um, I was on national television and I was not super confident. Like I don't know what it was. People would write me messages every single day saying, "Oh, you do such a great job. Oh, you do this." But I would tell myself I'm not good enough. And I don't know why I did, but it was my own fault because I told myself that over and over again. And then I started to believe it. And I think that's where we go wrong sometimes. It's easy to believe those things about ourselves that aren't true. Okay, so Pam says, I'm terrible at math. I am too. um, Okay, hold on to that for a second because I'm going to ask you to sort of shift that phrasing in a minute. Michelle says, I'm not smart enough to be in the room, which is 100% not true. Yet these are the things that we tell ourselves that if you are in the room, you are in the room for a reason because somebody or other people believe in you and believe you should be in that room. You have the qualifications, you have the smarts, you have the information, you have the power. You are there on purpose. Nobody is telling you that you shouldn't be in the room, right? You are telling yourself you shouldn't be in the room. Why do we do that? Why? Anyone have a thought? I'm not business savvy enough, says Nicole, which, you know what? I know that feeling so hard because when I left my career in news and started a business, I'm like, oh my gosh, what do I need to do? What do I have to do for taxes? What do I have to I'm figuring out my invoicing system. But the exciting part is when you think you're not good enough at something or that you can't do something, looking at that and saying, watch me figure this out. I'm going to figure this out. And then realizing the actual power and knowledge that you have within that you just don't give yourself credit for on the surface. So, with that said, let me go on to this next slide. And I asked you guys to hold on to what you wrote. If what you wrote, like I'm not good at math, was a headline, what story would follow? Can you turn your headline into a more empowering one? So, as an example, the example I gave was I'm terrible at public speaking. You could shift that into a more positive thought process and headline by saying, I'm learning to use my voice with confidence. You look at how that one has such a more positive swing than I'm terrible at public speaking. Do you guys see what I mean by that? So, does anyone, and if anyone wants to speak, like raise a hand or let me know because I would love to hear what you have to say about some of this too. And I know Jackie will be monitoring for that. Okay, so someone says, I have tremendous difficulty communicating my values. I'm a job searcher doing lots of interviews. My resume makes me look better than I am. I'm not qualified to do this role.
So sometimes I stop myself from speaking in any sort of engagement, like Zoom calls like this one, especially when a question is asked that I know the answer, but I stop myself from doing it with the fear of not using the corporate jargons, the fancy words that people use when they are speaking, when they're presenting, because it makes me feel like, wow, the way I speak sounds like a college person, not a person that has 7 years of experience in partner marketing, that knows her things, that understands how to solve partners' problems, that is a collaborator, that likes to work in a group and sharing and helping others. Like all of these wonderful things that I know of myself, I stop from sharing or from saying it oftentimes because I feel like I'm going to sound not as fancy as the other people do in the room,
Thank you
which
so much for
will make it sound like I'm not as smart as they are, right? That's how I feel.
Thank you very much for sharing, because I also know that it can be nerve-wracking to speak up on some of these things, and especially something that's so personal to you. So, bravo to you. And you're a very good speaker, by the way. So, that's not something that, look, I do this for a living and I have my whole career. That's not something that you should ever think twice about. You're a very good speaker. I can tell from the second you started speaking. You're comfortable on camera. You know exactly what you're talking about. We limit ourselves, though, because of this whole imposter syndrome and because of this sort of mentality that we have, where we have this fear and we have this block, right? And so when I say shape your story and shift your outcome, in this example, what I'm meaning is you are the narrator of your story. So right now, you're telling yourself, I'm not going to sound as smart as everyone else on this call, or I don't want to speak up because I'm not using the large company language that everyone else is using. But you can narrate that story in a different way by telling yourself, choosing, honestly, actively choosing to tell yourself, you know what? I'm here for a reason. I know what I'm talking about, and I'm going to share it. And the second you start doing that and then you repeat it, it becomes so comfortable. It's just getting over that hump and shifting what your thought process is about it. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you so much.
Yes, like I love being uncomfortable. I gave a speech to a group of a high school girls golf team last week. And it was them and their parents. And I started and I said, show of hands. I said, how many people have ever been uncomfortable in their life? Which is sort of how we started this. And everyone raised their hand. I said, okay, next question. How many people like being uncomfortable? And like everyone's hand went down and I had mine straight up. And I was like, I love it because it challenges me. Because in that moment, I am choosing to grow and I'm choosing to get better at whatever that situation is in front of me. So for you, it might be speaking up in that meeting. For Liz, it might be communicating her values and having that faith and that honestly moment of pride that you are qualified to be in the role that you're in. And there's so many people who feel that exact same way. I've coached people one on one, CEOs and CFOs of company who say, I'm not qualified to be in this role. I'm like, are you kidding? You are in this role for a reason. Everyone else sees it, but you. So let's work on that. It's all about your mentality. Every single person on this call is here for a reason today. Um, Liz, I know your mic is off. Do you have a thought on that?
Yeah, thanks, Jillian. Appreciate that. Yeah, so been taking some notes here. And right, I just said, yeah, I think that I love your way of taking the thought and turning it around. So I am uncomfortable. I am comfortable with being uncomfortable and embracing that. But I really like what you just said. You're qualified to be here. Everyone else sees it. So I am all about like affirmations and positive thoughts. I do a lot of meditation and journaling. And for somehow, this inner voice has really been quite a pain in the neck. And so you're really giving me some simple tips just to flip the script, is what you're saying. So I value that. And I like what you're saying about, like everyone else sees that. Like there's a reason you got a call back for this interview. There's a reason they're taking 30 minutes to talk to you today, right? So, and then I was just making a note, you said about like being a communicator. Well, in my role, I'm somebody, I have to work cross-functionally and get these teams excited and interested in getting to work, getting this project prioritized. And so if I can do that for other people, then I can do it. I am a communicator. So thank you.
Yes, we have to do these things for ourselves. And I will get into a little bit more of this later as well, but we have to take the time to celebrate ourselves and our roles and what we bring to the table, because if we don't, No one's going to. That's up to us to do that every single day. So, yes, thank you, Liz, for sharing that. And I hope in this slide and this exercise, you can see how you just flip that script a little bit to have it be more positive. Even though you might still have a fear of public speaking, since that's the example on the screen, you can still flip it and choose to look at it differently. So, that's really what I wanted to drive home in part one. Part two is rewriting the middle. And this is the power of choice, recognizing that pivot point and those moments that define growth. So, what I wrote here is we can't always control what happens to us, but we can control what we do with it and how we respond to it. Each setback, challenge, or change is a plot twist in our story. And we get to choose how we write the story from there in the next scene and the next chapter. The middle chapters, the messy ones, I mean, trust me, my life has been so messy for years, but I couldn't love it more. Like, I love the messiness of it because it's giving me an opportunity to learn and to grow every single day. And that's really where confidence and resilience is born in my mind, is in that kind of messy middle. So, with that said, this exercise is think of one plot twist moment in your career or life that changed you. And I shared mine with you guys. It was when I was having that feeling that something was wrong inside. I had makeup teams, hair teams, wardrobe teams when I was working in national news in Manhattan, and I still didn't feel confident. I was a morning national news anchor. Like, some of my friends would be like, Jill, there are like 30 people who have this job in the country, if that, and you're one of them. Like, what is wrong with you? And I'm like, I don't know. But I don't feel confident. I don't feel like I'm in the right place. I have this feeling inside that I can no longer fight. And so I had to recognize that plot twist moment in my life. Now, it doesn't have to be as extreme as mine, which is, leaving Manhattan, leaving my career, starting over from scratch with essentially nothing. It can be something as simple as, someone earlier said, I asked for a promotion. Well, okay, that is amazing to be able to work up the confidence to do that. And I would love to hear if you got it, if you didn't, if you're still waiting. But even if you don't get that promotion you ask for, that can feel like a blow sometimes to our psyche. But it's reframing that story of, okay, I didn't get this job, or I didn't get this promotion or this role, which means something else is waiting for me. What that is yet, I don't know. It's probably going to be better. It's probably going to be a better fit. Maybe when it comes to the job itself, maybe when it comes to the schedule or what is expected of you. But there is a reason for that. I am like a firm believer in that. So it's recognizing those plot twist moments in your life and reshaping the story. So, can anyone think of a plot twist moment in your life and how you can reshape that or rewrite that story to a more positive?
This year, earlier, it was around February or so, a program manager position opened up at the channel company. And I was about a year into the role that I was in. I was a junior VP MMA AWS. And when the program manager position opened up, that was something that I always aimed to get at one point or another. And I said, I'm not going to let that imposter syndrome stop me, and I will go ahead and apply for the position. So I did. But then, as I read through over and over again the description, I had to recognize, and I knew it was not the imposter syndrome speaking up. It was really me recognizing that a really important part of the program manager role was the leadership experience over leading people, right? And so I recognized that I didn't have that experience and that I needed in order to successfully do my job. So I took a step back. I emailed the HR people and I said, I'm going to be withdrawing from my application because I don't think it's the right moment yet. and I will take the proper steps to get to where I need to be. And fast forward a few weeks later, I was contacted by who was my line manager at the time to offer me a senior position of my current role, and that would give me the opportunity to manage 4 other VPMMs. So it's basically tied to what you said. Sometimes things happen for a reason, and it might redirect you to a different path that it will probably still take you to where you want to go. And even if it doesn't, that experience itself is so rewarding because the knowledge that you are acquiring will be for life. Nobody will ever take that away from you. So, fast forward to now, I've been in this senior position since April of this year, and I've had the opportunity to work, collaborate, and lead a team of 4 other VPMMs where I am not only able to share my senior experience, but also learn from them through the different challenges that they are going through, even in their personal lives. So it's been like, okay, I didn't get that program manager position as I was wanting earlier this year. However, I am working towards that goal. It's still just in a different way. So it was me pivoting to what I already had in my hands. So I thought that was really great.
I love that story. And actually, I'm reading the comments too because Mariv, is that how you say your name? Okay. It's such a pretty name. I'm so sorry that I'm asking. But you said when I asked for the promotion, I got and you're rephrasing here, you're not ready yet. I pivoted to, okay, let's work on the journey towards it. I started coaching and my leader is now focused on it. That both of these examples are perfect example as how you reshape that narrative in your own life. I love nothing more than when someone says to me, "Oh, you're not ready yet," or "Oh, you can't do that." I'm like, "Okay, watch me." I share this story with people when this is a long time ago, okay? But when I was in my probably early 30s, I had a boyfriend and I started golfing. And I was really excited because he golfed and he was a very good golfer. And I was just so excited that we had this shared activity and interest in common. And one day I said to him, I'm like, you go golfing like with your guy friends every Saturday. I'm like, it's great, but maybe if someone can't go one day, like I would love to be included. And he looked at me and he goes, "You're not good enough." And I was like, all right. Hey, we're breaking up. The watch me. I love I love hearing you're not ready yet or you need a little bit more time or maybe this isn't right for you. I love that. I thrive in that so much because I'm like it gives me this opportunity to grow. It gives me this opportunity to look at a challenge head on and say I accept you. I accept this challenge and I'm going to grow and I'm going to be better at it. So with that said, Mariv, I would love to hear just a little bit more about what you said about the promotion when they said you're not ready yet. Like, how did that make you feel initially?
Well, knee-jerk reaction, gut feeling. I was like, "Oh, really?" But then I was really trying to pivot and said, "Okay, so I respect that, right? Probably seeing things that I'm not seeing. Let's talk about the journey there." Because then the story becomes not "I want it, I deserve it," but what do I need to get there? And that's where we shifted. I literally started getting a coaching session from the company, so an external provider that I actually still have all of the leadership right next to me. I had coaching sessions, we set up goals, and then during our next one-on-one, my leader was like, "Okay, what are the top 3 things and what are the bottom 3?" And now we literally have section in our one-on-one and our weekly that is dedicated to that.
Yep. I love that you still have them, by the way, with you. That's amazing. Also, Michaela, I saw your note here in the chat, and I'm very sorry. Thank you for sharing your experience. I didn't want to let that mentioned. Um, okay, so with that said, you guys kind of just did this, and you don't have to do this right now for the purposes of time, but it's something for you to think about. that experience taught me blank, and because of it, I now blank. So in thinking about what it taught you and how it sort of reframed and reshaped your story, that's just something for you to maybe think about as you go throughout your day to day or throughout your time. Let's move on to part 3, which is how to tell and sell your story. Because so much of this world that we're in right now is all about storytelling. It's a practical skill for communication. It's an opportunity for you. You can storytell verbally. You can storytell through photos. You can storytell through video. You can storytell any which way you want these days, which is cool and can be super overwhelming and distracting. um, but stories are strategic. The way that you share your story impacts how you not only view and present yourself, but how others see and experience your value. So, when I talked about earlier, the fact that we tell ourselves these micro stories about ourselves every single day that then we start believing, that goes into how we view ourselves, that goes into how we present ourselves, and that goes into how other people perceive and see us. So, this is what I call the arc of confidence. And this is what I think is so important that you should all do for yourself every single day. When I say arc, the A means act. So, take action to build confidence. So, in that public speaking example, the action you might take is speaking up in this Zoom call or speaking up in your next meeting. And you take that action. You can't build confidence without taking that action, right? That's step 1. But then you have to reflect on it. And I think this is the step where a lot of people sort of drop off. And this is a lot of what we're doing today is reflecting on these pivot points, reflecting on these stories we tell ourselves, and reflecting on how we can shape that narrative. And this last part is what I think most people don't do is they don't take the time to celebrate what you gained or who you became or how it changed you because of that, because of that action that you took. We deserve the right to celebrate ourselves and to be proud of ourselves. If you do that thing that you're afraid of, if you speak up in that meeting, if you ask for that promotion, you should celebrate that because that's a big deal. The opportunity to step into discomfort every single day. So here's the exercise. I took action when I learned that, and I'm proud because. So I'll give you guys a minute or so if anyone wants to share a specific example of a time when you took action, what you learned from it, and what makes you proud about it. That last part is super important.
I believe I could share. I'm not that good talking in Zoom meetings, but I shared that I had the miscarriage at the beginning of summer. And after going through it, I did have my therapist with me and all that. But I was told not come back to work, take the time that you need. And for me, work is truly something that I'm excited about, that I enjoyed. So I went back after a week of the miscarriage and I learned that I'm super resilient. And I was so excited to go back from this new perspective of enjoying and taking all the life that we have and every day as a possibility to grow. And I'm proud because after that, I not only have we decided to move to new vendors that are changing the way we do business, but also I have implemented some mental health protocols in the team and apply new projects that are just going to make the team have a better work-life balance. So it has been a really from something really bad, something really good came from. So I'm really happy and grateful for giving myself the opportunity to do that.
Oh, I just got chills when you were talking about that. And you should be absolutely so proud of that. And my sympathies, and I'm so sorry for what you went through. I'm so honestly in awe that you can take that and look at what you learned from it, look at how you grew from it, look at what you've implemented because of it. And you should absolutely be proud for what you did. I think that's incredible, and it kind of just made my eyes tear up. Does anyone else have a thought about what Michaela just shared or another experience of your own that you'd like to share? Feel free to just take your mic off if you want.
Hi everyone. I would want to share one of my experiences. I had to end my journey with my previous company around 6 months back, and that happened so suddenly that I was mentally not prepared for it. And I often describe that experience as that, I was just taking a flight. I was just wanting to do better and more for the organization when it happened. Um, it was something that the organization or I couldn't have done anything about. Um, I could have sulked and I could have, felt bad and frustrated about things, but I chose not to. So I took action and I just started reconnecting with my network. I actually stepped out of the house. I met a lot of people. I met people from different industries, different professions. Speaking to them gave me a lot of insights into what was changing in the industry, what were the new AI things that were happening, and how people are steering their current jobs and their professions, how they're steering in their current professions. And that is the point when I realized that I had to take up some courses, etc. So I started learning as well. So I personally felt and that I was in a better space in a couple of months because I chose to keep my network fresh. I chose to meet new people and continue my learning. And I'm very happy to share that, some of my friends who are from the startup community, they realized my potential and they have reached out, and I'm now in process of supporting them in setting up their businesses and as they go live and go to the market. So I chose not to put a pause just because my job paused. I chose not to put a pause on my experience, my networking, and my skills. And that's what I'm really proud about.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing. And that's what you said is I chose not to take that pause. And that's, I think, the point I want to drive home here is we have this choice every single day. When something happens, whether it's bad or it's good or it's an opportunity for growth or it's something unexpected, that is a choice that we make every single day. So thank you both for sharing those examples. I love both of them. Part 4, shifting the outcome and living the story you want to tell. Bringing all of this full circle with mindset, intention, and forward vision. The most successful people, I think, aren't just reacting, they're directing. They are directing their life, they are directing their story. To shift your outcome, you have to act with intention in order to shape your next chapter. There's really not an opportunity to shape your chapter if you are not being intentional about what you are doing every single day. So close your eyes. Imagine your life 1 year from now. The confident, aligned version of yourself. When I think back, it's funny, I had this conversation 2 days ago. I was sitting in the airport at LAX for like 5 hours waiting for a flight. And I was with my business partner and I was just scrolling, like doom scrolling on my phone and on social media and everything. And at one point I wound up in my photos. And I was like, you know what? Let me just go back and look at my photos from 1 year ago and see how different my life is. My life was unrecognizable 1 year ago. So when you see those memes and those quotes and all those things like just start now and in 1 year your life is going to be totally different, I'm a walking example of that as well. My life is so different because I chose to make it different, because I chose to bet on myself, because I chose to look at challenges as excitement, because I chose to look at pivots and write them myself, because I chose every single day to act with intention, with my end goal in mind. So with that said, what chapter title would that version of you a year from now be? What would you call that chapter if you had the choice? To get there, what do you do differently each day? Jot down one action you can take today, this week, in the coming weeks to move closer to that story. I'll give you guys a minute and then I'll have 1 or 2 people share. If anyone's ready, let me know.
I don't know then how I would title it, but for me, the one simple and yet so complex step that I would take is just take the step.
Yep.
Because
What is that
there,
step?
there are so many different things that I want to improve in my life, not only professionally speaking, but also in a personal level as an individual, as a woman or as a wife or as a mother. Um, so I would say first, and I've been trying, it's just the consistency that makes the difference, right? I would say one step that I already started taking, but it hasn't been consistent. But I want to make sure that I keep doing it. I want to make sure that every day I wake up at 5 a.m. for many different reasons. One of them being that I already recognize that for me to have a consistent workout routine, I need to make sure that I get it done first thing in the morning. Because if I let it for any other time of my day, it won't happen, period.
Yeah.
And so I know that by waking up at 5 in the morning, I can accomplish a lot of things, including my workout and other things. So that's the first step right there. I want to make sure that I consistently wake up Monday through Friday at 5 a.m. And it's just going to take time. It's not going to stop overnight.
I'm like laughing because I had such a funny story about this. So last year, let's see, well, beginning of the year, when 2025 started, I'm not big on like New Year's resolutions, but I am big on setting goals. So they're kind of the same thing. It's just how you frame it and how you look at it. But so my plan for 2025 was each month I'm going to have a different goal. So for January, I did dry January. I mean, I'm not, coming up with something super clever here. I'm not the first person to do dry January, but I was like, oh, I'll try this. I'll do this. So I did that. For February, my goal was to wake up at 5 a.m. every day. Like a weekend, I got so sick that I was in bed for like almost 2 weeks straight. I ended up getting RSV really bad. And I was like, well, I'm not supposed to wake up at 5 a.m. I tried. So that's why I was laughing about that, because I tried. So I hope that you have a better experience than I did. You win some, you lose some, right? And sometimes you just have to laugh it off, and that's okay. But I love that for you. I absolutely love that. Let's see. Alana says this is your routine. You've been wavering a bit, but if you don't, you can't work out. Exactly. Um, let's see. Anyone else want to share? Michelle, it takes discipline, but you can do it. You want to share, Michelle?
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. I wrote a lot. I made that decision also a couple of years ago that I was totally going to take care of me, because there's a lot of pressures, I think, on all of us as women. I mean, we take so much onto us. We're mothers, we're wives, we're sisters, we're friends, we're, good colleagues at work. And I think that we really take a lot of that emotionally into ourselves. So a couple of years ago, I made the decision that I was going to take better care of my body and better care of my mental state. And so I have been 100% for 2 full years. I woke up one morning, I went ahead and went to a personal trainer. I see them twice a week. I go to a Pilates class down the road twice a week. And then I go get salt therapy treatments, which, ladies, if you haven't done it, 100% find yourself a salt therapy room or place that has salt therapy. It is the most relaxing 20 to 40 minutes you could possibly give yourself. And don't take in electronics. Don't take in any of that stuff. Just, I swear to you, I take naps. It is the most amazing thing you'll do for yourself. And then therefore you can be there for others, because it's so very important. If you're not there for yourself, you can't be there for others. And that's when we start feeling worn out, burnout. Just don't let it happen to yourself, because it could easily happen. And then it's so hard to rebound from that. So make it a commitment. Love yourself.
Yes, and I just wrote down salt therapy. I started a Pilates class about 2 months ago, and it's the best thing I've ever done for myself. It just makes me feel better, and when I feel better, I'm more productive, and so yes, I 100% agree. Pam said my new chapter title, A New Me, Action I've Taken, Clarification of my next role in my journey to provide value to the organization and myself. I love that chapter title. So, and Pam, if you want to share, I just saw you hop on there.
Sure.
Please do.
So, and it kind of also puts in, so a new me, looking for my next chapter, my next journey, but getting really clear on what I want that to be. Because spending so many times doing different types of jobs in the past is just getting like, what does that need to look like for me as I go on to my next journey? And it also means, to what y'all been talking about, is it just can't be about a role, a job. It has to be value, and value can mean many different things. But also importantly, is it how do you take that work-life balance together and take care of yourself? Because your best self is when you're taking care of yourself. So that's what I am looking at.
I agree. And I love that. Thank you for sharing. So these are things for you guys to keep in mind. Ask yourselves these questions, whenever you can. If you journal, write about it. It's just things to think about. Remember that arc of confidence. Remember the celebration part of it and the reflection part of it. Because as Michelle said, if we're not doing these things for ourselves, then we can't show up as our best self for everyone else. So taking that brief moment to just reflect and celebrate and be proud of the things you're doing, for speaking up in that meeting, as a number of you did today. Just anything, even no matter how small it seems, it's not that small, and you deserve to give yourself credit for it. So, with that said, this is my favorite quote before we wrap up here, which is, each day you are presented with two choices: evolve or repeat. When I read this quote, it hit me like a ton of bricks, honestly, because I realized when I was, even though I was a very successful, news anchor and news reporter, I was repeating. I was just comfortable in my own life. I wasn't stepping outside the box. I wasn't stepping into discomfort. I wasn't even recognizing challenges and embracing them. I was just repeating. And the second that I really thought on this quote, I was like, game over. I don't want to be a repeater ever again. Every single day, I want to choose to evolve. And that's what I've chosen to do every single day. And look, no one's perfect. I'm not perfect. Some days are better than others. Some days, I am sick, or I feel like crap, or I just don't want to do it, right? But even if it's the smallest little decision you can make to evolve, you're still doing it. You're still showing up for yourself to do it. So whether it's showing up to that workout class and forcing yourself to go, even though you really like you're on the phone hitting the button to cancel it, but you're like, no, I'm just going to go. Like, celebrate that. Recognize those moments, because they are a bigger deal than we make them out to be. We've got like 3 more minutes here. If anyone would like to share their thoughts about this quote, if anyone has a question, or just you didn't get to share anything throughout here, please feel free to hop in. Yeah. Michelle, you said your problem is consistency and carving out time, which I totally agree with. Carving out time can be really hard, but it can also be really important for us to do. Those workout classes, like I have them blocked into my schedule now twice a week, because I'm like, if I don't do that, and if I don't carve out the time and put it on my calendar, it's never going to happen then. So it's whatever works for you to carve out that time. Like, I'm working with a client right now, and one of his, I mean, I won't name him or his company, obviously, but one of his biggest issues is he's like, I don't give myself time to prep for my calls. And I find then that I'm unprepared. And I'm like, put it on your calendar. Put 30 minutes on your, let's just start with that. Put 30 minutes on your calendar before you have an important call, and make it a routine. The more that you can just put these things on your calendar, set aside the time intentionally. Like I said earlier, acting with intention, do these things intentionally. You do them a few times, it just becomes a routine. And guess what? Now it is a routine for him. But it just takes sort of looking it in the face and being like, all right, I got to figure out this problem. Let's just get it done. The more you can just get done, the less you're going to think about having to get it done then. Take it off your plate. Bruna, right? You said, I just turned 40 this summer. I don't know how much it influences this feeling I have, but I have finally realized exactly what you have on the screen. Do I keep repeating, or do I evolve? To evolve, it hurts, but to be stuck and frustrated and sick hurts a lot more. Yeah. And we can choose to evolve in our professional lives, in our personal lives, in our family lives, our friend lives, like our friendship circles, our relationships, every aspect of our life. We have the opportunity to evolve every single day for the better, if that's what we choose to do with it. Any other final thoughts or questions? I could talk to you guys for like 3 hours, by the way. Go ahead.
I love this quote, and it reminds me something that my mom would say, and I'm trying to keep it because my mom grew up with negative things. Like, it's wasted if you didn't. So I'm turning it to something else. I feel like evolving is learning. So I put myself a daily goal to learn at least one new thing that I didn't know before.
I love that. What have you learned today?
So much. I kept running like crazy.
It filled your quota for the week.
Well, I think it's for the rest of the fiscal year. I have quite a lot to do, but I really love that approach, right? Because we all have those days that we have to repeat, because that's the inertia of it. We're in it. But even if we learned one tiny little thing, then we're evolving. We're not really repeating. So maybe appreciate the fact that some will have to be repeated, But then what do you do about it to grow? And I love that. And Brenna, I'm with you. Crossed a while ago, but I'm with you 100%.
Thank you guys all for sharing. You guys were so much more like engaged than I didn't know what to expect because sometimes people don't want to speak up, but I applaud you and appreciate you for getting involved and for speaking up. I loved it. So thank you guys for having me.
Thank you so much. This was amazing.
You.
Yes, thank you so much, Jillian. And now I'm like already counting down the days to see you take the stage at Women of the Channel East in a month.
I can't wait.
We know with Thanksgiving, it's going to be here like in a week. Today was such a good lesson, and I'm so glad that we were able to have so many people share it. Like you said, it just made it such a really nice, engaging hour together. So thank you to you. And of course, thank you to our friends at Fortinet for making this possible. So until next time, I hope you all have a amazing week, and let's continue the conversation in the community if you want, some accountability buddies to keep pushing on all these things together.